What's going on, guys? Eventful weekend, to say the least. A little bit, at least. So let's see here. I got to make sure everything's working right. So we're again going live on multiple platforms. My Instagram live isn't working right now, so I apologize about that. But essentially, while I get this thing up and running, is what we're going to be looking at are some of the reports that came out from this weekend about some of the things that Adam Schefter was saying, some of the things that Ian Rappaport has come out and said. And then we're going to go ahead and kind of transition that situation into some draft talk, maybe look at some second rounders, maybe look at some guys, because obviously we're so hyper-focused right now on the quarterback. So, of course, we're going to talk about the quarterback. But then once we get into it a little bit, we're going to actually start looking at some actual draft prospects that can be had later. So again, I appreciate everyone hopping on Instagram, Facebook, YouTube, and Twitter. It's Liddy. I appreciate you guys sticking this one out. So let's start off with the main topic of discussion. So it came out starting, I think, Friday, Saturday, Sunday. Ian Rappaport came out and said with a report that, you know what, maybe it's not Mac Jones at 3 like he had previously reported, and that there could be all 3 quarterbacks in play. Obviously, we understand now, too, that's been reported that the 49ers, Kyle Shanahan, John Lynch, they will all be in attendance for the second pro day that both Trey Lance and Justin Fields will be having. And it is honestly really basically just a showcase. Basically just a showcase for Kyle Shanahan and John Lynch, because obviously the 49ers are picking at number 3. Everything points to them taking quarterback at 3. I know there's been some discussions that have come up about what if they don't go quarterback at 3. I'll touch on that just in a little bit. But right now, let's kind of stay home on the talk around kind of the reporters and the flow of information and how it seemingly feels like things are starting to change a bit. They're starting to kind of take their foot off the gas, essentially, in regards to Mac Jones at 3, because I know if you guys were on with me last week, I wasn't buying it when it all came out. I think it was on Tuesday or Wednesday last week, when all the talking heads really started seemingly at the same time pushing the narrative of Mac Jones at 3. You had the comment from Matt Miller with the team employee texting him, essentially saying it's a 95% chance or 95% done Mac Jones at 3. And that's when we came on and we were like, so are we buying our Mac Jones jerseys? Is that what we're doing now? Are we buying Mac Jones jerseys? Because that's what it was being reported like. And again, we said, well, we don't believe it. We don't buy it. There's plenty of angles to be played here. We discussed that in depth. And sure enough, as we have inched our way closer to the draft, the narrative again begins to change. The narrative now is, well, they like all 3 quarterbacks. Well, X, Y, and Z. You're starting to hear a lot of the actual evaluations coming out from these reporters and what have you, saying, you know what, we actually like Fields better than Mac Jones. But it's just funny because obviously we're just trying to follow the narrative. We obviously are ingesting everything that they're putting out. I think one of the biggest difference in kind of seeing the narrative flip is you guys. I honestly think we're seeing a lot of this narrative switch up and flip, and you're seeing them take a step back because of you guys. Because I think they underestimated, especially this fan base, we don't take a lot of stuff at face value. Obviously, we went in depth last week about all the smoke that the 49ers have been involved with since January started. So we're smoke chasers. We're all geared up. We know we've been through this time and time again. So honestly, it just seems like a situation where we got the information, we looked at it objectively, we looked at how we basically evaluate quarterbacks, and we're like, we don't believe you. We don't think that's the right situation. And we'd let them know every mock, every talking point, everything that came up since that point where they said 95%, Mac Jones at 3. Oh, we have made our voices heard, and you are seeing them react to it, because at the end of the day, they're judged off clicks, they're judged off engagement. They want to make money. That's at the end of the day, it's a business. The media is a business. So they got things going on their side of things. And again, we just don't care as fans, and that's part of the fun of being a fan, and especially now in today's age with social media, is that our voices can be heard. People like us, content creators or what have you, we have the ability to say whatever the hell we want, and clearly we have built up enough of a following that we can, we can discuss these things and discuss them objectively and all that kind of stuff. Hold on. I got to check the news here. I'm getting reports in the chat that Julian Edelman has been released. Let's see. Is it true? Oh, wow. Per Ian Rappaport, the Patriots have terminated the contract of wide receiver Julian Edelman per the NFL waiver wire. He's listed as a failed physical. Ooh, they got him on the failed physical. That's funny. It's not funny, but that's interesting. That's interesting that a player who has been there, been a big part of that franchise, is seemingly let go on a failed physical. That's interesting. I don't know how much that relates to the 49ers. But he is from the Bay Area. He does have ties here. Maybe he comes back. Who knows? Yeah, Jay says he's going back to Tampa Bay. Yeah, I would like to agree with that. I would like to think that he's going to go link up with what's his name? Mr. Tom Brady himself. Man. So essentially what we were talking about is we're kind of talking about the talking heads. We were talking about how the narrative has changed a lot. And again, I was just pointing back to you guys, the fans, the listeners, the followers. I honestly think that we're seeing these guys change their tunes, change their narratives a bit here, because of how vocal we've been and how much has followed the narrative behind Mac Jones. Again, you guys are responsible for a lot of that and ensuring that is being heard. So I really believe that, and I really believe that's why they're kind of taking a step back. I think that they were going to receive a little bit difference of opinion in regards to how that information would all play out. Wow, it is like a sauna in here. I need to get some airflow going. It is hot in here. But essentially, I don't see the whole Mac Jones situation was super premature, and all that kind of stuff. But I see it in the chat, so we're going to go ahead and talk about that. There has been some conversations around Kyle Pitts at 3, the 49ers moving up to 3 to select a game changer like Kyle Pitts. And obviously you can only talk about quarterbacks so much. You can only talk about the same thing so many days in a row. So of course they're going to start a conversation. Like, that's why I'm being asked about it. So that's why I'm talking about it, is that there's like, well, what if the 49ers moved up to take someone like Kyle Pitts or Penny Sewell or something like that? And again, it's the off season. We have 17 more days until the NFL draft begins. So there's plenty of things that or new narratives that need to be discussed. That again gets us talking. And here we are, we're talking about it. So honestly, the biggest thing with that is, I don't believe it at all. I don't think it should be an actual talking point. The 49ers traded the future of their franchise to go up and select a quarterback. They didn't go up to do that to select a tight end. Keep in mind, the 49ers are sitting with a tight end on the roster who was selected in the 5th round, and is now an all-world tight end. Now I get it. Pitts is a much different beast. He's a much different beast. Arguably not even a tight end. He's basically just a big wide receiver that can play both tight end and wide receiver. So yeah, it's really not much of a topic for me, in my opinion, but I've honestly been getting asked a lot about it. So, I'm like, someone here on Facebook says Pitts and Mond. Grab Pitts at 3, Mond at 2. Yeah, I just don't think we can do that. I don't think that would make a lot of sense to move and leverage that much draft capital to move up to 3 to grab a positional player that doesn't carry the positional value that a quarterback carries. When you move up to number 3, you give up that much draft compensation, being 2 future firsts, swapping 3 to 12, and a compensatory 3rd. That value is for a quarterback that you can find. Like, let's talk about Darren Waller real quick. A lot of people like to comp Waller to Pitts. Waller was on the streets before 2 seasons ago. Obviously, he was drafted, had off-field issues and what have you. But with the way the NFL is going, there's going to be a lot of these big-bodied wide receivers coming out. And honestly, yeah, the talent is really amazing with Pitts. Pitts is a really good player. He's worthy of the hype that he's getting, but he's not worthy of the compensation that the 49ers gave up to move to 3. It would be a different situation if the 49ers already had the quarterback of the future on the roster. They don't. They proved that by deciding to trade, multiple picks to go ahead and go do that. So honestly, in my opinion, it just feels like a situation where, again, it's off season. We have plenty of things to talk, or we don't have tons to talk about. Therefore, we generate narratives to, again, spark conversation, spark different whatever. Like, that's the whole reason why I'm even talking about it right now, is because I think Good Morning Football floated it, and so now here I am talking about it. But honestly, it's not even in the conversation. It shouldn't be. It shouldn't even be a conversation, because I think at the end of the day, we all understand what the 49ers are doing. They're moving up to select the quarterback of the future. They're not moving up to select a tight end. Like, come on now. Like, you get a good quarterback, you get a quarterback who can do everything you can do. That quarterback has a potential to be on your team. Like, look at Tom Brady. How old is Tom Brady? 43? 44? Dude's still playing. But that's because with the way the NFL is, the way they protect quarterbacks, the way they want quarterbacks to thrive, there's so much more positional value. You can't play tight. Like Kyle Pitts will not be playing at 43. Kyle Pitts will not be playing at 38. Kyle Pitts will probably not be playing at a high level at the age of 35 to 34. And you can argue that that is the prime years for a quarterback. So again, it just doesn't stack up. Like, he might be a great player. He might be legitimately good. But again, it doesn't match the value for what the 49ers gave up. It'd be different if the 49ers were already sitting there at 3 and they're like, we have our quarterback and look, there's Kyle Pitts. Then yeah, okay, I can buy it. But that's not the case. So no, that's not going to happen. Yeah. So those are two of the things that I've been asked about quite a bit. Oh, this one's funny. Hey man, I respect your opinion. I respect how you feel. And so one of my guys on Facebook says Kellen Mond is better than half the quarterbacks you guys love. If you're talking about Fields, you're talking about Wilson, you're talking about Lance, even Mac Jones. Kellen Mond doesn't sniff those quarterbacks. And I'm sorry. Like, I'm not here to slander Kellen Mond at all. I'm not here to do that. But he is not better than any of those quarterbacks. I can make the argument he's not better than Kyle Trask. So again, Kellen Mond, like, he's an intriguing prospect. I think he shows some intangibles and some tools that you could work with. But the biggest thing that Kellen Mond puts on tape is consistency issues. And if you're not consistent as a quarterback, I don't care if you can throw a good pass 1 every 10 passes. To me, that doesn't do anything. To me, that's going to get you on the bench and get you in a position to where you need to continue to develop. For me, from a quarterback standpoint, you have to be consistent. That's almost like it comes with the job. Like, you have to be consistent in regards to accuracy, timing, everything. And he's just an inconsistent quarterback. So you can tell me I'm wrong on Kellen Mond. Watch the tape. I was in Mobile. I watched Kellen Mond live for 3 days. I watched Kellen Mond 3 days in practice. I watched him 1 day in the game. And I'll tell you, Kellen Mond did nothing for me to make me think that he was better than any of these guys that I've mentioned recently. I've gone back and watched the tape. Same situation. So, yeah, I'm not going to go into a big Mond debate. I've talked about this at length for some time. But yeah, we're not going to jump on the Mond hype train anytime soon. So that's not for us. And if the 49ers were to go that route, I would seriously question Kyle Shanahan and his thought process. I really would. So yeah, if you want to take Kellen Mond in the 4th round to sit behind a quarterback for a couple years and learn, that makes sense to me. That I can buy that. I can buy that. Anything above a 4th round pick and you trying to basically take Kellen Mond and put him as a starter, no, thank you. That is a recipe to get your GM and head coach fired. And I like my head coach and GM. I like John and Kyle. I don't want them to get fired. I want them to stick around. So we're not going to go with Mond. We're not going to do that at all. And so essentially, to kind of get back, So we talked about some of the noise that happened this weekend. We talked about the narrative that's changing. Again, how I really think that a lot of that is changing due to the fans, due to um, people who are actually watching the tape, speaking up and voicing their opinions about how it's it really doesn't make sense for anyone to come out at this point to say that it's Mac Jones at 3. So you're seeing them kind of change their narrative. You're kind of seeing them change the discussion surrounding that talking point. Um, so it's going to be really interesting to see how these next couple weeks play out, because again, we got 2 pro days coming up now. We got 2 pro days. We got Trey Lance. We got Justin Fields, Kyle Shanahan. And from what it sounds like from Tom Pelissero, is that the 49ers will have basically be running Justin Fields workout. So essentially, it sounds like it's going to be a bit of an install where they're going to be running a lot of some concepts that Kyle likes. I assume they're going to try and work in some verbiage, see how he retains information, spits it out to his crew. I would imagine that if it's such a specific pro day, there's going to be board work. I would imagine there's going to be board work and install where Kyle has the opportunity to get Justin Fields on the board, talk about certain concepts that they like, the bread and butter that the 49ers run and operate. I'd imagine they'd have a mini install to where they go over what, like, essentially what Justin, like, this is how we say it. This is the verbiage. This is how we scheme it. And this is how we draw it up. Now we want to see you take how we drew it up to the field. One of the things that you've heard about Justin Fields from a plus standpoint in his evaluation is how he takes things from the classroom to the field. And I think, if you haven't played football and you don't know how much goes into it off the field in regards to board work, study, install, and doing all those kinds of things from a play standpoint to then going and executing it on the field, what people who have been around Justin have always said is he's very good at taking it from the board in a conceptual situation and translating it to the field. So I'm excited. I hope that's what they're doing. I hope that's what's happening. I hope Shanahan gets the opportunity to get into a room with Justin Fields and basically be like, these are the concepts that we want to see from you. Draw them up. They do the back and forth on the board work to understand the communication, understand how to really understand the concepts that Kyle is trying to punch home, because it's going to be play action. It's going to be bootleg. It's going to be those kinds of things. It's going to be timing specific. So what I expect is Kyle to get on the board and just draw all this stuff up. Expect Kyle to digest it, ask the right questions, and then take it to the field and go out and execute it. So I think that's really a great part of the eval for Kyle, if that is the case. I really hope that's the case. I hope that's what they're doing with the pro day. I really hope Kyle has that access. I mean, because I would imagine if they are running, certain type of plays specifically for Justin Fields, is that it would be that case. And because my Instagram guys can't get their stuff together, we're just going to go ahead and turn off commenting. If you guys want to comment, head over to YouTube. It's nice, and we're talking about football and things like that. Because Instagram Live don't even care at a certain point. So again, I really hope that that's what's happening with these pro days. I really hope that we're going to see Kyle actually running these things and really getting a good feel for how they take install work, put it to the field. So that should be a lot of fun. So another thing that I wanted to talk about too were some day 2 prospect guys. Obviously, we're going to keep going with these quarterbacks every day. There's going to be a conversation about them, but I do want to open up the floor for some additional prospects and some additional things to talk about, because we do have a pick at 43. There is actual guys that can be selected at pick 43. I don't know if you guys know that, because all we talk about is quarterback at this point. But essentially, I think with pick 43, there's so many different ways that the 49ers could go. Clearly, it could go wide receiver. You could go offensive line. You could go running back if one of these big-time running back falls to you, based with the noise that we've heard about Najee Harris and the amount of communication that he's been, speaking with the 49ers quite a bit since the Senior Bowl. So that opened up some speculation that maybe the 49ers are open to drafting a running back early. I wouldn't be opposed to kicking running back down the back end of the draft. There's some good late round gems at running back that I would feel from a positional value standpoint you could get later. And with Mostert, with Wilson, there's a possibility to be able to not have to use high draft capital to get that running back. But I think cornerback at round 2 could be available. So a guy who has been shooting up boards is Asante Samuel Jr. So I think he could be available at 43. I don't think Asante is a first round guy. I really don't. I've watched 4 games of Asante, 3. I watched Asante versus Pitt, Asante versus Georgia Tech, and Asante versus Miami. So these were my notes about Asante Samuel. So I think he could be available at 2. I'm a little iffy, and I've noticed I'm a little iffy on a lot of cornerback prospects that a lot of people like, and I'm okay with that. Again, I gotta stick to my evals. At the end of the day, I'm just sticking to my evals. I know there's a lot, smarter people out there. Croc is, everyone knows Croc in the 49ers community. He's on it. So, but again, at the end of the day, I just got to stick to my evals. And so these were my notes on Asante Samuel. So starting off, at solid size, great athlete, very fluid hips and feet. So I think that's one of the most intriguing things about Asante is you see some of the traits that his dad had, and you clearly see it in him. I wrote in my notes that I think he's strongest in off coverage. I felt like whenever he was in press man situations, he doesn't have the greatest technique. So because he didn't have the greatest technique, he could find himself out of position, doing all those kinds of things, and potentially getting beat on a couple plays. He got beat bad by Amari Rodgers, really bad by Amari Rodgers, and that was a press situation. Technique was really, really bad, and then he finished with really poor. He could have tackled Amari for like an 8-yard gain. Decided to try and punch the ball and not really tackle. Turned into a 50-yard touchdown. So those kinds of things you don't really like to see. But one of the other things that I wrote about was that he had some questionable awareness. I'm really big on awareness. I'm really big on reaction. I'm really big on those types of intangibles. And I just felt like that he was late to react with timing sometimes. But could have just been the games that I watched. I said mediocre at best tackler. He had 2 INTs against Georgia Tech, but both of those were gifts. He had a really solid pass breakup. He actually timed it really well, and he went over the top and made a really solid pass breakup. But I also, again, wrote another note, not ultra aggressive with a star next to it, which again is kind of what I just kept coming back to with this tape is just starting to try and see the tendencies, trying to see how they stack together and things like that. So Asante Samuel, I think from a measurable standpoint and things like that, obviously name value, and where he's coming from, the bloodlines are there. And he does show good reps, but he does show bad reps. So again, you just have to find what is, what's the baseline for consistency for him. I think he could be a good slot corner. I think he could be potentially good outside corner as well. But there are a couple things that I would still like to see from him that would make me feel more comfortable with Asante. But there's also some other good cornerbacks that are going to be available. I'm a big Ifitu Melifanu guy. Now again, Ifitu isn't perfect, and that's what I have to keep reminding myself is these cornerbacks aren't perfect. Ifitu Melifanu could be available. His brother is on our team. What I like about Ifitu so much is that if the 49ers plan on running these kind of zone schemes and playing these guys in off coverage, I think Ifitu would thrive in that scenario. He's got amazing length, and he can move really, really well for his size. I got to watch him at the Senior Bowl, and watching him at the Senior Bowl really helped me kind of feel comfortable with him as a person, because I will be 100% honest. When I scouted his brother, Obi, who is actually on the 49ers right now, and I apologize if either one of them are watching. I just, I'm going to be objective with how I scouted the situation. How I scouted Obi, it was a situation where I called him an insta bust, where I watched him on tape and I was like, this guy is not very good. At all. So again, if you're watching, Obi, if you're watching, I'm so sorry, but I gotta stick true to the eval. And with Obi, I called him an insta bust. I think unfortunately for him, he landed with the Raiders in the second round. I don't even think he made it out the year before he got cut, or he got cut the second year. The year, I think 2020, he didn't play football at all. I don't think he was rostered. So we talked about bloodlines with Asante. Well, with Ifitu, and obviously scouting his brother, and his brother got a lot of the rave reviews that Ifitu's getting. With Obi, he's got great size, he's got great speed, and what he can do with the size and speed together. He's going to be a great NFL pro, which is why he was a second round pick. But I think with what Obi showed on tape was a lack of aggressiveness. He really didn't put his nose where the ball was. He just kind of was always like floating around the pile. He wasn't like in the pile. There's just a lot of things that concerned me with Obi Melifonu's tape. And again, like, not only do I like to be able to find gems, I do pride myself on my bust radar as well. And that's one guy I called an insta bust. And again, I apologize if I'm sure he's a great guy. But just from watching the tape and coming away from what I saw, I didn't like it. But Ifitu is what I think scouts wanted Obi to be. When Obi was coming out of UConn, I really think what Ifitu is now is what scouts wanted Obi to be. So I think Ifitu stock is going to be a little bit lower than it should be because of his brother, but that could help us. It could allow him to maybe fall to the third round, something like that. So, but there are guys all over the place, not all over the place. I think if the 49ers are going to want to target a cornerback, they should target second, maybe third. St. Juice is another guy that I really like from the Senior Bowl. Again, another lengthy guy who offers really strong movement skills for his size. Again, is another guy who would fit kind of that off-ball cornerback that read and reacts, keeps everything in front of him. He did, and again, both Ifitu and St. Juice, you throw them on a Demetric Felton, you throw them on Amari Rogers in the slot, they're not going to perform to the best of their abilities because obviously when you're bigger like that, it's harder to move your hips around and do different kinds of things, get your footwork and everything on track. But it's going to be interesting to see with how the scheme evolves under D'Amico Ryans. If we go to more man, if we stay in off kind of zone coverages, it's going to be really interesting. But we'll see. We'll see what happens. I'm going to give my IG folks some time to settle down. I'm turning the comments back on for them. Let's see if they can handle the responsibility well. But yeah, there's and then you got the speed kids out of Georgia, Tyson Campbell, Stokes. They could be available. They Tay Gowan, who I think is more of a 3-round guy. We actually took a look at Tay Gowan on Friday. And Tay is kind of he reminds me of a Kello, a little bit more rigid in his movements, but kind of has some Akello. Alyssa asks if Greg Newsome will fall. No, I don't think he will. I think Greg Newsome now with Caleb Farley being with his back injury has an opportunity to go a lot higher than a lot of people are thinking right now, because he has great traits. His traits are really, really nice. Oh, look at him. My guy, Eric Crocker, in the YouTube chat right now. If Newsome falls, the 49ers better snatch him up. I honestly am even in the kind of mindset if Newsome's falling to the bottom of the first, I wouldn't be opposed to moving up and getting him. I really think Newsome's that good. And again, I'm a big Caleb Farley guy, super big Caleb Farley guy. And when I've been looking through these prospects at cornerback, I think Greg Newsome is the next in line to be like Caleb Farley in regards to being scheme diverse, having all the tools and traits and intangibles to allow you to play on, off, zone, press, man. Like, it doesn't matter. He can move down into the slot. Like, I think Greg Newsome is one of those guys, kind of like Farley, which is why I liked Farley so much. So, oh yeah, Jordan's in the chat. Let's go. Farley Hive. But what's another interesting discussion is what happens if Farley falls. Because like I said, I think Newsome gets elevated. I think Newsome gets elevated now with Farley's back injury. I did do a little bit of research on the injury. I guess with what Farley had, he had like a depleted disc or something. and they went in there and removed part of the damaged area. So with Farley, they said that the timetable is a 4-month recovery. So they said he should be ready by season, and that based on the input from the surgery, because he's had the surgery and everything that's come from it, is that the doctors were extremely they were positive. All the reports about Farley have been positive. And they're saying it went exactly like they planned. There should be no issues. There's been other athletes who've had this similar surgery before. So if Farley falls, now we're talking. I like him. I like him a lot. And I would, again, you look at the landscape of the cornerbacks. You have Verrett coming back. You have Mosley coming back. You have K1 coming back. There isn't like a need, quote unquote, need for a cornerback to start day one, but that allows Farley some time to rehab, again, learn from these guys. They start letting him in slowly, because again, Verrett's on a 1-year contract, K1's on a 1-year contract. You would like to think that they would eventually start planning for the future. So we'll see. But I'm big on Newsome, big on Farley. I like both of their traits. They both remind me of each other. So I would be, if we got either one of those, that would be amazing. It would be absolutely amazing. Trying to think of some other cornerback prospects that could be available. Yeah. The top cornerbacks, those guys are going to go top 15. I can't imagine they fall out. Jalen Phillips projection. I like Jalen Phillips a lot. Jalen Phillips has the potential to go top 15, honestly. It all has to do with the medical. And because obviously he had a situation where he got hit, from my understanding, he got hit by a car and got a head injury, medically retired, transferred schools, 1 year at Miami, but did really, really well at Miami. I'm big on him. I'm big on his traits. I'm big on how he's going to I think he's going to be a better NFL player than he was in college. So I think Jalen Phillips, all it takes is one team. All it takes is one team to believe in him and one team to believe in his ability to perform. So, interesting. All kinds of. All right, remember, I'm navigating multiple chats, so please bear with me. Hey, I kicked LaMelo. Hey, and so I'm gonna take a second because I know IG be wildin'. And I know he probably came from IG over to YouTube, but we're gonna do our best to moderate the comments, because again, I want to hear you guys' input. I want to know what you guys feel about these players. I want to be able to actually hear you guys talk about football. And when you got a bunch of knuckleheads just going off in the chat, we're just going to start booting them, because again, we're here to talk about football, and we expect a certain level of greatness from these followers, because we know you guys are smart. So we want to hear from you. We want to hear your takes. We don't want to hear the nonsense. No. So I'm going to start kind of turning it over to you guys, because like I said, I want to hear your guys' thoughts. We want to make this interactive. We want to get your guys's. I mean, like, honestly, if you're on, YouTube, Facebook, we'll shoot your question onto the screen. If you guys are on Instagram, I'll pin you if we're answering it. But just let me know, and let's get talking. Let's talk some football. So I'm gonna take one from Instagram, since my Instagram people have been freed from chat jail. Let's see how long. Let's see how long they can last from chat jail. So let's see. Not necessarily a new hat. It's a Ruka hat, but we like to mix in the green. Let's see. Sorry, guys. I'm trying to find a question. Favorite non-QB. Okay, well, someone says here, he only says one name. He says favorite non-QB prospects that he really likes is Moore. Now, there's two Moores that I assume he's talking about. There's either Elijah Moore out of Ole Miss or Rondale Moore out of Purdue. Both are savages. Both are savages. My guy Jordan, who joins me to do these talks, he has been on the Moore twins hype train for a minute. So the kid out of Purdue, so that's who he's talking about. He's talking about the kid out of Purdue. He could be available because he is a little bit height challenged, for a lack of a better word, but he plays so strong for his size. Honestly, I'm not too concerned about his size, because honestly, all you have to do is play bigger than your frame suggests, and as long as you can do that, I have no problems with you succeeding at the next level. It's when you allow your frame to actually inhibit you. But what does he have? Like a 41-inch vertical. He can jump out the gym. He's extremely fast. And on top of all of that, the cliches that come along with being a shorter, smaller wide receiver, he's also extremely tough and mean and gritty. He has no problems lowering his shoulder and plowing straight through you. And I think a lot of people see his size and they kind of like lower their, I don't know how to say it, like not expectation, but they just like, I don't think they expect the power to come behind Rondale's frame that he comes with. On top of that, so Rondale brings a lot to the table because he can beat you left or right, and that's what you expect from him. You expect him to just juke you out your shoes. You expect him to beat you with straight line speed. You expect him to beat you with his route running ability. But when it comes down to it, he's mean. He will run into your face and run through your face and punchatize your face. While you're trying to protect him from beating you and making you look silly with the speed, he keys on you and then basically does whatever you give him. I like Rondale a lot. I think he's a legit player. Elijah Moore as well is going to be another guy. Again, another guy my guy Jordan was all about from day one. He even said like in January, it's like his number 2 wide receiver. I said, bro, you're crazy. But you do this, you start diving into the tape, you do the tape study. Dude, Elijah Moore is another freak. It's like 5'9". But he's really good. Elijah Moore is really good. Again, two guys that their size will not hamper them in the NFL at all. It's just not going to happen. Chasing Gold on YouTube asked, he's trying to remember, did the Mac Jones hype start with Chris Sims? Yes. If you guys don't remember to the previous rankings that he did some time ago, God, it feels like 2 months ago at this point. He had Wilson, Trevor, Mond, Lance, Fields. So that started the whole narrative with Fields kind of taking a dive in regards to the negative perception around Fields. And it started putting the light on Mac and, of course, Mond, which was insane. And then he also was one of them who, right when the 49ers traded up to 3, he was one of he's been banging the table for Mac Jones at 3 to the 49ers. Again, you look back to his rankings from a month or two ago. Yeah, those align. They align with his rankings. They do. Mac Jones was his 3rd ranked player. So it seems like a perfect setup, right? Perfect setup. See, I told you guys back here when I had him at 3. And now look, 49ers are picking at 3. So look, Mac Jones seems like a good fit. Yeah, I mean, it seems like a good fit. You know, if we were trying to build a team like you would 10 years ago. But the NFL is evolving, and the quarterback position is evolving as well. So I think it would be wise to evolve with it, especially with one of the most innovative play callers that the NFL has ever seen. I would much rather take a guy that has the ability rather than just the processing. Bosa talk. What are we going to talk about Bosa? Bosa looks ready to go. Bosa, if you guys seen that video, Bosa looks, oh yeah, big Kool-Aid man coming through. Bosa looks good. He showed some videos of him cutting. Impressive. You know, straight line is one thing, right? Straight line running, that's always good to see. But when you start seeing the cutting and him running a little 3-cone drill action, which really shows you being able to cut on multiple different directions in a very tight space. That's really positive. That's really positive. Honestly, I was a little shocked to see him that far along in his rehab already. Like, I was like, when I saw him running in the straight line, I was like, oh, okay, yeah, let's go. When they showed him cutting, I was like, oh, it's real. Like, that's legitimate. So that's good. It's good for 49er fans. It's good for fans who want to see Bosa back. Bosa looks like he is ready to wreak havoc. And again, just got to stay healthy. At the end of the day, the only people that are going to beat the 49ers at this point, I still truly believe, are the 49ers. 49ers, the health, that's it. 49ers play their brand of football, execute, do what they know they need to do, and stay healthy. There's no one stopping the 49ers. The only people that are stopping the 49ers are the 49ers themselves. So honestly, that's kind of how I see it happening. Here's an interesting question on YouTube. That's not the one. Sorry. Do you think Kinlaw will be better this year, or is he the next Solomon Thomas? So this is my take. I've talked to 3 current 49ers and no, 3 or 4 current and past 49ers who are attached to the team. All of them have talked about Javon Kinlaw and how excited they are to see Javon take that next step. When I had Brunskill on, we talked a lot, and we talked about different guys, and we talked about a bunch of different things. But when we started talking about Brunskill, when Brunskill started talking about Kinlaw, his eyes got all big. He got all excited. He's like, man, if you guys don't know yet, you better start paying attention, because what the things that Javon Kinlaw can do, it's different. So multiple people who, again, face him every day, are around him with the team, they all are really excited about Javon Kinlaw. And it's got me really excited about Javon Kinlaw, because I already was excited. I saw what he did in his rookie year. Again, as a rookie, playing interior defensive line with no Bosa, no D Ford, constant, injuries across the defensive line. So Kinlaw didn't get much help last year. I think that's something that we don't think about or process very often, is that just imagine what Kinlaw could do with 2 legitimate edge rushers on each side of him. And because that changes the whole dynamic of the offensive line, changes how they're sliding protections, changes on all kinds of different things. So you get Javon Kinlaw in more, like, let's say, one-on-one scenarios in 2021. I think that dude's going to eat. I think, like, he already showed the promise. He already showed the potential. He already showed what he's capable of. Now we just want to see it strung together, become more consistent, and see it more often. And that's typically how the maturation process goes with young, talented players. So that's what I expect from Kinlaw. I expect Kinlaw to take the steps forward that he needs to take to becoming one of the most dominant interior defensive linemen in the NFL. So I got high hopes. Like I said, I already was excited for Kinlaw before I talked to any of these guys. But once you talk to, like, a guy like Brunskill, who battles against Kinlaw every single day, and he's just like, man, you guys don't even know. Like, you guys don't even know yet what's coming. And so I'm really excited about Kinlaw. I just took Kinlaw in one of my dynasty IDPs where you draft defensive players. We got Kinlaw. We got Fred Warner. Oh, the gang is lit. Oh, we got someone going off in the chat. Hey, I need my chat police on Instagram. Call them out. Call them out. They get booted. They get tooted and booted real quick. So, yeah, I'm excited. I'm excited about Kinlaw, all that kind of stuff. Ooh, better rookie season. Honestly, I think Buckner played a little bit more. I think Buckner had more snap percentage than Kinlaw did. If I'm not mistaken, I'd have to go back and look. I just remember with Buckner was constantly creating havoc. He just wasn't getting home. He just wasn't, like, he was creating pressures. He was doing all of those things. But with Buckner, he just wasn't getting home to finish, to actually rack up the numbers that you wanted to see. But the impact was there. And it's kind of like the same thing. Like when we saw Bosa and Ford added to the D-line group, Buckner was able to do all kinds of crazy things. He was able to just dominate because he was starting to get more, one-on-one matchups and things like that. So I'm really excited and hoping to see. I honestly see a similar maturation process with Kinlaw, just like we saw from Buckner. Because I know you guys remember, Buckner used to get hated on. Buckner used to get dragged because he didn't have the production numbers that people wanted to see, things like that. And you know, the comments followed. Um, I don't want to name names, but there's people had receipts pulled. Have been talking bad about Kinlaw. Talk bad about Buckner too. Again, these guys aren't finished products. It takes at least 2 years to really have an understanding of what they're going to be. Sometimes it takes 3, sometimes it takes 5, sometimes it takes longer. You just don't know. Not everyone's developmental process and maturation is aligned. It really matters where you land. It really matters who's coaching you. It really matters who's in front of you on the depth chart. There's a lot of stuff that goes into it. All right, so we're hitting up an hour now. I'll answer a couple more questions, and we'll get off. Might come back on later. We'll see. But yeah, I'm super hyped for Kinlaw and what he's going to bring to the table. Ooh, here's a good one. Would Brandon Ayuk get 1,000 yards this year? And of course, you say yes if he is fully healthy. I just imagine Justin Fields just throwing dimes to Brandon Ayuk, because again, we haven't really gotten to see what Brandon Ayuk is capable of as, honestly, a downfield wide receiver. We have seen very minimal spurts. Most of those actually came with Nick Mullins at quarterback. So we just honestly haven't seen too much of Brandon Ayuk running deep routes and longer developing routes, because seemingly we haven't designed the plays to work that way. So I'm interested to see if the 49ers were to get a quarterback like Justin Fields, where you can continue to move the pocket, you continue to run your bootlegs and your play action game. But now you're hitting, instead of, Ayuk running comebacks and sitting down in soft spots, maybe he's running double moves to, the post, or hitting different variations and giving him an extra second or two to get open, to then see what that develops into. Again, when you have a quarterback who has the ability to buy time, you can then send your guys on longer developing routes. You don't have to hit the short game over and over and over and over again. You can do a lot of different things. So with, the quarterbacks that we had last season, we ran a lot of the short game stuff. It felt like it really didn't feel like we were airing that thing out too much. If we did, it was with, Nick Mullins or like a CJ Beathard. Really didn't feel like we got to see Garoppolo air it out too much. So again, you would imagine the 49ers are looking to go in a route opposite of what they already have, which again ties us back to the whole Mac Jones conversation. It just kind of feels like Mac Jones is an embodiment of Jimmy Garoppolo, Nick Mullins, CJ Beathard, and just kind of feels like it's time to move and evolve past that. I understand what has been tied to Kyle in his past, what Kyle likes and has shown in his past. But when you have a guy as talented and dynamic as Justin Fields sitting there at 3 right in front of you, I have a hard time assuming that a guy like Kyle wants to just keep doing the same thing over and over again. So dang, you guys be wilding in the comments. Sheesh. Chill. Comments be crazy, man. Comments be crazy. Some edge rushers in the late round. I like Ellerson Smith a lot out of UNI. What is he? 6'6.5", 252 pounds. I think he runs in around he's like around a 4.6 40 guy. I'm a big Ellerson Smith guy. You guys are wild. I think he's going to be a legitimate. He's kind of reminds me of Alex Highsmith, the Charlotte D end who was with Steelers last year. He played really well. He did really well. He ended up being one of the better defensive rookies in the entire class. I think Ellerson Smith could be kind of like that. He reminds me of having the same kind of tools, motor, things of that nature. So, yeah. See, I appreciate my guy Sam. He had to migrate from Instagram to YouTube, and honestly, just keep doing that. Just keep migrating to YouTube. Just keep going. Like pretty soon, these trolls are going to get themselves booted or not even have an opportunity to troll anymore. YouTube's nice, man. All the comments from Facebook and YouTube, these guys are just want to talk about football, and I appreciate it. So much just So Dan worried about that we're hyping up Fields too much, that he's going to go to the Jets at 2. So honestly, I've been worried about this the entire time. I've been on Justin Fields since October. I've been my quarterback rankings haven't wavered. Justin Fields is still my number 2 quarterback, and and I even mocked Justin Field 2-2 about a month ago, and it was crazy at the time. The fact that you would think that Justin Fields would go 2-2 at that time, because all anyone was doing was slandering him at that point. But again, my evaluations haven't changed. The narratives are changing. My evaluations are staying the same. And through my evaluation of understanding how good Justin Fields is, and again, me picking Justin Fields as the quarterback that Kyle would pick, like back in January, back in February, back in March, if you ask me who's the quarterback that you think Kyle would like out of any of these guys, I would say Justin Fields, which is why I have landed on Justin Fields. But there's another layer to that. If Kyle Shanahan truly likes Justin Fields, you would have to assume that his old coaching staff, who's learned everything about the game, or at least learned so much about the game from being under Kyle, would like the same things. So that was always my biggest thing, was like with LaFleur going to be the OC with the Jets, and LaFleur has experience with Justin Fields. He was at the QB collective coaching Justin Fields with Kyle, with Sage Rosenfeld, with all these other guys. LaFleur was with Justin Fields, so they know Justin Fields on a real level. They know him as a person. Okay, who am I banning? Call them out. I'll ban them. Oh, we doing the weird George Washington guy. Yeah, he's getting booted. Yeah, good job, chat police. Chat police is killing it. So yeah, with Fields, it's always been a concern with me, but I think you have to take into account the narrative, because honestly, you look at a place like New York. New York, we call it what, the media capital of the world. Do we call that? I believe we do. And that media, they're wild. They're much different than hey, my chat police are doing work today on IG. And again, if this is annoying to you on my Instagram people, you can go to YouTube. It's very calm over here. It's very calm. But I appreciate my chat police over here. But again, back to the original topic of conversation. Yeah, I think has always been a possibility. I think it always has been a possibility that Fields could be tied to the New York Jets, but I come back to ownership and the narratives. And I think ownership listens to the narratives quite a bit. I think they listen to what everyone is saying and talking and communicating. And I think from that kind of perspective, Zach Wilson kind of seems like the better prospect, because people weren't dragging Zach Wilson during the year like they were Justin Fields. People haven't dragged Zach Wilson throughout the draft process like they have Justin Fields. Justin Fields has become an extremely polarizing prospect for no reason. But because he is, that could change the whole way a fan base views a pick. And so now I would assume the New York Jets, they are hyped up on Zach Wilson. The Zach Wilson narrative, the pro day, the talent, all of it. They are hyped up on Zach Wilson. They have sipped the Kool-Aid. And so now I kind of look at it in a situation like, well, what if the New York Jets passed on Zach Wilson for Fields? I kind of feel like they would get eviscerated, at least in that media market. I kind of feel like, again, it would be a situation like the 49ers are with Mac Jones or Trey Lance or Justin Fields. Because if you take a Mac Jones at 3 and he doesn't work out, 49er fans, media, everyone is going to point their targets right at Kyle. And they're going to be like, Kyle, you did it again. Look at your quarterback tree, Kyle. Kyle, you did it again. Like, and then if Mac doesn't work and Mac struggles, like literally any sign of struggle, I talk about this all the time. Take all that balled up energy between Jimmy Garoppolo, like the conversation that follows Jimmy Garoppolo everywhere and how divisive he is as a player and polarizing he is to this fan base. Now inject that into Mac Jones, and he hasn't even taken an NFL snap yet. Does Mac Jones have the mental fortitude to take that criticism before even taking a snap in the NFL? Does he have that ability? We'll see. And it's just, again, it's like in this day of social media when all of our voices can be heard, and we clearly, like we started the show by talking about how I feel a lot of these narratives have changed because of our input to the situation, that they're like, oh, this is actually turning into a really bad narrative and it's making us look bad. Like, us pounding the table for Mac Jones is in fact making us look bad. People are calling, like when I'm saying us, I'm talking about the Adam Schefters, Dan Orlovsky's, all these guys. Like there's now a race conversation that's attached to it. Like it's turning out to be a situation where it's not if you're in the business of Mac Jones, like it flipped. And again, I don't think, like in today's NFL with social media and fans and fan accounts and people doing podcasts and things like this, we can control the narrative almost more so than some of these national guys. I mean, look at it. They tried to put Mac at 3 on us. And what did we say? We said no. We said no. That's not happening. And if we're really going to look at why you would put Mac above a Trey Lance, above a Justin Fields, well, we're like, well, what about this narrative surrounding black quarterbacks and how they seemingly get pushed down year in, year out? And then you're hearing these narratives of like this happening and then that happening. And then they're like, and we're just like, how are you guys saying this? Because we're watching the tape. All the football guys agree that Mac Jones is not better than Justin Fields, arguably Trey Lance. And that then gets shoved back on them. And they're like, whoa, like this is not what we signed up for. We were just out here, trying to push a narrative. We were we were just getting texts from our anonymous sources, and we were just, taking the information as we go. But we weren't having it, and they walked it back. And I think a lot of that has to do with all the things that we're talking about. Selsky in the Bay. Selsky's in the chat. I know he's been on Trey Lance heavy. Trey was ready a year ago. He was. He could have came out a year ago. Oh, Selsky wants to go ham on. He's a Trey Lance truther. So I could debate that all day. But again, it's just funny that how the narratives have swung and changed. You can't mess with 49er fans. I think we've proven that you can't mess with us. We've been through the ringer too many times. We've been through so much smoke that, like, don't mess with us. Like, seriously, you put us through another situation where we're chasing down smoke, we are going to rip it apart. And guess what? They tried to sell us Mac Jones smoke. We said, no way. No way in hell that you're going to sell us Mac Jones smoke. So, hey, at least Selsky doesn't want Mac Jones. We can agree on that. Let's see. Man, it's good times, though. If we draft Mac, you got to do a live stream right after. No, I'm going to be live. I'm going to be live for the entire draft. So all this work that we're doing, all this tape study, all these evaluations, all of it is going to be leading up to the draft show. We're going to be live for the whole draft. So we're not going to be like streaming it, but we're going to be talking about every single pick. We're going to be talking about every single scenario. We're going to be talking about, and then again, of course, you get the reaction at 3. It doesn't matter. Like, whatever the reaction is, it's going to be epic. The reaction at 3 is going to be epic, whether it's Justin Fields, Trey Lance, whether it's Mac Jones, whether it's Kyle Pitts, it doesn't matter. The reaction at 3 is going to be legendary. So I suggest you tap in for that. It's going to be a lot of fun. All right, though, I got to wrap this up. So I appreciate everyone hopping on. Again, everyone joining on Instagram, Facebook, YouTube, and Twitter. Just getting in the swing of this week. I do have a 49er player who will be joining me this week. We are finalizing our final details of getting everything aligned, but I will be doing an announcement of the time and when. So keep an eye out this week. We're going to have another 49er current on the team right now on the roster, starter, will be joining us to talk about. Hey, it's up to you guys to get Kyle on here. I can go after the players, but it's up to you guys to get Kyle to join us on the live. So I'll have another player, like I said, another starter joining me this week. Still figuring out the fine details and all that good stuff, and we'll get it all figured out. But I appreciate you guys jumping on as usual, and we'll keep at it, man. We'll keep at it. Again, more players. We're going to have more other people from 49ers community on, talk draft, talk everything. So we'll keep it up. And again, I appreciate everyone who always joins in. You guys make it interesting and fun, to say the least. But we'll have a lot to talk about. Did he really announce his retirement? So I'm being told that Edelman has announced his retirement. Did he do it? He did do it. Wow. Oh, he even put together a video and everything. Oh my goodness. Dang, that's crazy. All right, so real quick. We'll talk about it. Then I'll leave. Dina is a legend in the IG chat. She's smacking up fake George Washington all day. We see you, Dina. Good job. Appreciate my chat police. I'm gonna be counting on you guys big time. Chat police, I need you guys as we continue this rolling. But Julian Edelman has officially retired. That's pretty interesting, a little bit unexpected. He's obviously getting up a little bit in age. But I didn't think he was going to call it quits this soon. Real quick, I'll talk about one of my, Julian Edelman is a Bay kid. He's from Redwood City, I believe. A couple people I know went to school with them. But with Julian, I'll talk about one of the things with him that I look for in all players when I'm scouting. It's just like this integrity level that these players have, that it doesn't matter where you put them, where you play them, anything. As long as you put them in the game or you give them an opportunity, they're going to fight, scratch, and claw their way into that opportunity. It's a huge thing that I try to scout with these prospects. And with Julian Edelman, when he came onto the Patriots, he was a former quarterback, I believe, from Kent State. I can't remember if he was drafted. He might have been like a 7th round draft pick. But one of my favorite plays from Julian Edelman was him playing cornerback. So this was before he made his name as a wide receiver for the Patriots. he was primarily a special teamer, and they got thin at cornerback, and they asked him to come in and play cornerback in a game. And I'll never forget watching Julian Edelman running around as a defensive back, having to tackle LaDainian Tomlinson when he was on the Jets. And I just remember Julian going heads with LaDainian Tomlinson. Now I get it. LT, he lost a step at that point, but still, he's still LT. You still respect LT. And I just remember Julian Edelman just going in and clobbering him. Just perfect, like, form tackle. I think he ended up hurting LaDainian. And I don't know if LaDainian ever came back from that injury that Julian gave him. But again, the mentality doesn't matter. Put me in coach, former quarterback, a special teams guy in the NFL as he's breaking into a team. They're like, oh, we're down corners. Can you go play cornerback in the middle of a game? Oh, see, that's a Hall of Fame running back. Go tackle him. And does it well. So, again, big respects to Julian. I'll end it on that. I wish him nothing but the best in his retirement. He was a good guy. He's become a really good, outspoken person in regards to some moral issues that we seem to run up against. He's been doing great in that. So I imagine Julian will continue to be a great ambassador for the NFL. So tip my cap to him. Wish him nothing but the best with his career and as he moves forward. But wow, crazy. Wasn't expecting that, but I appreciate you guys. I'm going to take off. Might catch me later tonight. We'll see what happens. But again, appreciate everyone. Y'all have a good afternoon.